Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Let's look into the first question. Consider the following statements with respect to special purpose acquisition company. It is formed to raise money through an initial public offering to buy another company. At the time of their IPOs, SPACs have no existing business operations or even stated targets for acquisition. SPACs have 2 years to complete an acquisition or they must return their funds to investors. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Indian Express makes a reference to the SPACs. Let us try and understand what is this concept all about. We have all heard about initial public offering. What is an initial public offering? Let's say for example, there is a company. This company is run by few people. These few people would have come together, they would have put in their own money and they would have started their business. All of a sudden they realize that this particular company will have to be expanded. So what do? They knock the doors of SEBI. They request SEBI that we would be releasing the initial public offering. So what is this initial public offering? So for the first time, when a particular company goes public, it takes money from the public and that money will be used for the expansion of the company is what is called as initial public offering. So when it comes to the initial public offering, they have to go to SEBI, they have to get the permission from SEBI and ultimately they would be able to go public. For this particular company to go public, it requires an operation, it requires a working module, it requires an objective, it requires what it is planning to do in the near future. So when it comes to Zomato, what does Zomato do? Zomato also recently released IPO. What does Zomato do? Zomato basically delivers food to the people. So it has a clear-cut objective when it comes to the IPO. So when it comes to the IPO, what you have is stringent rules that you have to follow. When it comes to IPO, you go ask people money because you know for the fact that you have a clear-cut objective. Now what is this SPAC? SPAC also is another company. It is called by Special Purpose Acquisition Company. So what will it do? It will also release the IPO as well, but it does not have the stringent rules like we have in the other traditional IPO. But in this particular case, it will ask money from the public. The money that is collected from the public will be used for acquiring the company. So this is used for a special purpose where this particular company, which happens to be a shell company, does not have any operations. In the traditional IPO, you had a particular company which also had an operation. For example, Zomato. Zomato is a delivery application, so it is collecting the money for expanding its operations. But when it comes to special purpose acquisition company, as of now, it does not have any operational company, but it is taking money from the people so that it can take over the operations of some other company in the near future. So there would be people who would come together, let's say ABC. These people have an idea about one of the sectors, so they collect money from the people so that they can acquire one of the companies in the near future. What is the major difference here? When it comes to IPO, there are stringent rules, but when it comes to SPAC, they don't have the stringent rules. When it comes to IPO, there is already an existing company. When it comes to SPAC, there is no existing company. When it comes to IPO, you have a company, you also have that particular company conducting its operations, but in this particular SPAC, there is no company. A shell company is created. In the near future, they may acquire one of the companies. So when you look into the options, it is formed to raise money through the initial public offering to buy another company. Yes, this is right statement. At the time of their IPOs, SPACs have no existing business operations or even stated targets for the acquisition. This is correct. SPACs have 2 years to complete an acquisition or they have to return their funds to the investors. So if the money is collected by this particular shell company, it will be put in one of the trust funds or an escrow account, so the interest that is generated can be used by the company. So if they are not able to buy any of the companies within a span of 2 years, they have to return the money to the people who have invested in this particular shell company. So all the 3 statements are right. So the answer to this would be 1, 2 and 3. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to Sarmat, which of the following statements are correct? It is a canister based long range anti-submarine missile. It is a joint venture between India and Russia with 70% indigenous input from India. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is none. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Indian Express makes a reference to Sarmat. What is Sarmat? It happens to be called a Saturn II according to United States of America. It is reported to be able to carry 10 or more warheads and decoys and has the capability of firing over either of the Earth's poles with a range of 11,000 to 18,000 kilometers. So basically, this happens to be an intercontinental ballistic missile which is capable of nuclear charge. It is designed to elude even the anti-missile systems as well. So the Sarmat will be the first Russian missile which can carry small hypersonic boost glide vehicles. They are maneuverable and are hard to intercept, and these anti-defense systems that are existing in some other country would not be able to identify them. The upgraded electronic countermeasures, guidance system and alternative warhead carrying capacity makes the RS-28 Sarmat ICBM more lethal than R-36M Voyeveda ICBMs currently in service in Russia. So this happens to be an intercontinental ballistic missile, and as a result, both the options given in this question are wrong, which is why the answer to this would be none. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements about Europa are incorrect? Jupiter's moon Europa is the largest satellite in the solar system. Europa has the smoothest surface of any solid body in the solar system. Which of the statements are incorrect? Since it is asking for the incorrect statement, the answer to this is one only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the Jupiter's moon Europa. When we speak about Europa, this happens to be one of the moons of Jupiter. It is not the largest. The largest moon happens to be Ganymede. So remember, Ganymede happens to be the largest moon in Jupiter, and it is not Europa. And when we speak about Ganymede, it happens to be the only moon known to have its magnetic field similar to that of what the Earth has, and the magnetic field also causes auroras or bright ribbons of glowing gas that encircle this moon's pole. This is also evidence that Ganymede also has the oxygen atmosphere. And now scientists are also exploring the provisions if there can be life beyond Earth in Europa. And as part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section, are there any missions that are being conducted by NASA or it was conducted in the past by NASA with respect to the moon Europa? Please put it on the comment section. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to Atal Pension Yojana, which of the following statements are correct? The pension scheme allows any citizen of India between the age group of 80 to 50 years to join through the bank or post office branches where one has the savings bank account. Contributions to the Atal Pension Yojana is eligible for tax benefits similar to National Pension Scheme. It is administered by Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority, which works under the Department of Economic Affairs. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 2 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the PIB makes a reference to the Atal Pension Yojana. Let us try and understand what are these options. When we look into the first option, the pension scheme allows any citizen of India between the age group of 18 to 50 years. This is a wrong statement. Why? Because it is 18 to 40 and not 18 to 50. So the first statement is wrong. When you look into the second statement, yes, contributions to the Atal Pension Yojana is eligible for tax benefits similar to the National Pension Scheme. So the second statement is right. But when you consider the third statement, yes, it is administered by Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority, but it does not work under the Department of Economic Affairs, but instead it works under the Department of Financial Services under the Ministry of Finance. So if we are speaking about Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority, it is the statutory authority established by an enactment of the Parliament to regulate, promote and ensure orderly growth of the national pension system. What is the eligibility criteria for the Atal Pension Yojana? Atal Pension Yojana is open to those who are not a member of any statutory social security scheme. Any individual between 18 years to 40 years having a bank account are eligible for the scheme. He or she will have to provide proof of possession along with the Aadhaar number or must undergo Aadhaar authentication. The subscriber should get their Aadhaar number recorded in APY pension account as well as their savings account. What are the benefits of this scheme? The scheme provides provides the subscriber with a fixed pension which is anywhere between the range of 1000 to 5000 after the death of the subscriber. So if a person is paying money up until the age of 40, after 60 years he would be getting the pension. But all of a sudden, if there is the death of the subscriber, the spouse is eligible for availing the same benefits provided by the pension. The indicative pension wealth will be returned to the nominees after the death of the spouse, and the contributions to the Atal Pension Yojana is eligible for tax benefits similar to the national pension system. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which one of the following factors constitutes the best safeguard of liberty in a liberal democracy? A committed judiciary, centralization of powers, elected government, separation of powers. The answer to this is separation of powers. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2021. What do we understand by separation of powers? Separation of powers basically means that we have the legislature, judiciary and the executive. Each keep a check on one another. There is check and balances between the legislature, judiciary and executive so that one does not overtake, one does not capture power when it comes to the system. So we have different wings of the state. One is the legislature which makes the laws, judiciary which interprets the laws, executive which implements the laws. So these bodies on their own can also become so powerful that they capture the system. So in order to keep a check on them, what we require is the separation of powers, and that happens to be the best safeguard of liberty in liberal democracy. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is Fincluvation. What is this Fincluvation? This happens to be an initiative undertaken by India Post Payments Bank, where it has recently launched this particular program called as Fincluvation. First, let us understand some of the important factual data with respect to India Post Payments Bank. This comes under the Department of Post, and this is under the Ministry of Communication, where the government has 100% equity when it comes to the India Post Payments Bank. The bank has been set up with a particular vision that every single person in India, if they don't have the bank account, they should be able to open bank accounts, or they should be able to open post office accounts, and ultimately these people should become the part of the financial inclusion schemes and programs. So every single person in India should be provided the financial inclusion methods is the major objective of the India Post Payments Bank. The fundamental mandate of this particular bank is to remove the barriers for the unbanked section, underbanked section, and make sure that there are about 1,60,000 post offices and about 4 lakh postal employees. All these people are engaged to provide these financial inclusion schemes to the people in the country. Now this India Post Payment System has come up with an initiative called as the Fincluvation. What is it? It is a joint initiative to collaborate with the financial technology fintech startup community to co-create and innovate solutions for the financial inclusion scheme. How does this work? So basically, we would have the India Post Payments Bank, which will work with the startup fintech companies, and these fintech companies would be encouraged to develop solutions aligned with tracks such as creditization, digitization, or any other market-led solutions. So what is happening here? We have the India Post Payments Bank, which will collaborate with the financial technology startups so that they develop solutions aligned with creditization, digitization, and market-led solutions. What do we understand by creditization? This is basically about developing innovative and inclusive credit products. Let's say, for example, if there is a particular person who wants to take the loan from the banking system, if a person wants to take loans from the post offices, what are the necessities, what applications will have to be created, is what is this creditization all about. Then we have digitization, which is about replacing the traditional banking channels with the digital tools and the smartphone technology. And the fintech companies would be able to come up with any market-led solutions so that there are more financial schemes and programs. What is the significance of this particular program? This will provide a powerful platform to mobilize the startup community. The startup community will now be given an option where they would be able to engage in meaningful development for a social cause, and at the same time, these people who are provided the financial inclusion means and mechanisms systems will become part of the system. So the startup ecosystem will develop on one side, and on the other side the financial inclusion schemes are provided to the people, and this Fincluvation will help in breaking down of the complex systems, and such newly created systems will help these people become the part of the fintech technology. It is this that we have to understand in reference to Fincluvation. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.